Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming out. It's great to be here today with all of you in Thunder Bay, and shout out to our host for today's announcement is RPM Drilling. I really appreciate them opening up their facilities today for Minister Lecce and myself. Before I get started, I'd like to acknowledge the chiefs that are with us today, as well as His Worship Mayor Ken Boshkoff. And today's in Thunder Bay, we're fortunate we've got 8 ministers visiting Thunder Bay today, so including my good friend Minister Stephen Lecce. As many of you know, I hold a deep appreciation for the vast resources we have here in Northern Ontario, not only because it's in my riding, but because the North is a vital part of our province's natural resources and forestry sector. As the Associate Minister of Forestry and Forest Products, I know how vital Thunder Bay and many other communities across the North are to protecting our economy and furthering the success of our communities. Northern Ontario is rich in natural resources, critical minerals, clean energy, and sustainable forestry that help position Ontario as a global leader across many sectors. When we talk about the future of Ontario, we're really talking about the future of our towns, like ours, where mining, energy, forestry, and innovation aren't just abstract ideas. They are what put food on the table, support local businesses, and build the future of our communities. The Protect Ontario by Unleashing Our Economy Act is about more than legislation. It's about protecting the jobs, industries, and future our families all depend on. We know how vital our critical minerals are, not just to electric vehicles or clean technology, but also how essential forestry is to everything from home construction to pulp and paper. These sectors support local livelihoods, strengthen Indigenous partnerships, and provide a pathway for the next generation of workers growing up in our schools and in our communities. This is about making sure those opportunities stay here in Thunder Bay and Northwestern Ontario and aren't lost to foreign interests who don't share our values of sustainability, partnership, and long-term prosperity. And now, it's my honor to introduce one of the leaders driving this important work, my good friend, Minister Stephen Lecce.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. I want to thank our hosts. This is a great Canadian success story employing a significant amount of workers in Thunder Bay and across Northern Ontario. I also want to give a warm acknowledgement to both chiefs who are with us, of course, Chief Bruce and Chief Labas, for their leadership. And as they rightfully remind us, everything we do in Ontario, to do the big things, the nation-building projects, it has to be done in partnership. And we look forward to doing so meaningfully with you to improve the quality of life, the economy, and to make sure we fight back as a strong, united team against President Trump. And I think that, for that matter, we are on the same team. We are committed to fighting back against all the risks and all the threats against our country. Now, this week I had the privilege of traveling across our great province. We unveiled a decisive plan, a plan that will defend Ontario's interests and to secure our place as a true clean energy superpower. As was mentioned by Kevin, who's been an outstanding MPP for this community. Kevin is humble, but I got to take a moment just to say this man works to get things done for you. He serves with integrity and he fights at the cabinet table to make sure dollars flow to this community. Like I have never heard of in any riding in the province of Ontario over 100 ministers visiting in roughly 5 years, or roughly 7 years, or 3 years, because he's been there for one term. That's an incredible achievement. So this man's on a roll. And so I just want to say thank you, Kevin, for your leadership for the people of Thunder Bay. You are doing amazing. And obviously, we've got strong partners in Northern Ontario, many of whom are serving at the cabinet table. So it's good to be back in Thunder Bay, and I'm going to be back. The mayor, I know, has extended this invite before, and we're going to be coming back to this community. But one of the reasons why we're here on the margins of NOMA is to make a commitment to the people of the North that we are going to unleash our economic potential in partnership for the benefit of Canada. And it's why last week I introduced on the 3rd Thursday anniversary of my appointment as minister, 3 weeks in, I'm now the subject matter expert on all things mining, but we introduced the Protect Ontario by Unleashing Our Economy Act. This is a historic piece of legislation. This legislation breaks down the barriers in government that's holding us back as we try to harness the true potential of Ontario in this critical minerals race. We are literally up against some fairly nefarious global partners, and so we got to get on with it. And so yesterday we were in Sudbury. We shared more about our groundbreaking one project, one process. This is the first of its kind. It's common sense. It probably should have been done a long time ago. But for Kevin and for I, we understand that reducing red tape helps to reduce the time it takes to get to yes on projects. And we can reduce the time government takes on permitting while still maintaining strong, in fact, enhanced environmental protection and robust, meaningful engagement on the duty to consult. Both can be true. And that's what we're here today to talk about. How do we build upon that prosperity agenda in partnership? But the legislation we brought forward is not just about speed. It's not about making government work smarter and faster for the benefit of Canada. It's about building for the future. It's about creating a system that works better for us here in Canada, that protects our resources, powers our economy, and secures our destiny as an energy superpower in the world. And I'll tell you, the world is watching. We were just in the Sudbury Basin, an incredible area where we're seeing huge extraction and processing taking place. We've, of course, got a supply chain and mines here in the Thunder Bay region, supply chains in Sault Ste. Marie, and of course in many other parts of Ontario, and Timmins too, and also future opportunities in the Ring of Fire. But everything we do must be done in partnership, as I say, but it must also come down to making sure that the resources of our country stay in the hands of Canadians. And make no mistake, not every actor on the global stage is our friend. And we need to not be naive as Canadians, because right now Ontario has no tool to stop a hostile foreign government from taking control of our critical minerals and energy assets. And that has to end right now. Because when countries like China or Russia set their sights on our resources, Ontario must stand up, push back, and protect what is ours. We've said it before, we will never be the 51st state. But if we're going to be a global energy superpower, we need to think more strategically about safeguarding these amazing resources that are in the land. And we're building the foundations for a strong, sovereign, self-reliant future so that we're never, ever beholden to that man in the south. I will not name him, but we know who I'm talking about. And look, I mean, we will work with the elected government of any country, any democracy, including in the U.S., but the truth is we need to stand our own 2 feet. And this is why we believe there's got to be some sense of urgency. It cannot take 15, 16, 17 years to open a mine when in Australia, another Commonwealth democracy, that's taking 6 to 7 years. You know, in Alberta, need not look abroad. In our country, they're doing it in 9 or 10. In the European Union, with the high standards of environmental and labor protection, they do it in 9 and 10. And then here we are as always the outlier. That has to end. We've got to rise to the challenge of leaning as Canadians to buy Canadian and protect Canadian resources. So today, I'm proud to be here back in Thunder Bay to announce new protective measures to defend our province's mining and energy sectors against foreign interference. And the first step of that is we're going to create new authorities that will stop bad adversarial foreign actors in their tracks by the proposed measures allowing us to have the new authority to suspend access to the Mining Lands Administrative System, the MLAS, which can block suspicious transfers of claims or leases, and now give government the ability to remove hostile foreign registrants from the system altogether. The point is, if you're a threat to Ontario, if you are a geopolitical threat, if you are indiscriminately incarcerating Canadians in your nation as an authoritarian nation, then you're not going to get your hands on Canadian minerals. And that's the point of why we're here. And the second point is that we're going to defend our critical energy infrastructure like never before, because in a world of cyber attacks and state-sponsored actors, I think about China and Iran and Russia, these are intentionally working to deceive people, and they work to undermine our cyber systems, which put at risk the safety and security of our privacy. And so we have to be vigilant. We've got to protect our province's energy systems from this interference, which is why today's announcement includes mitigation from risks like malware, potential manipulation or tampering that could cause outages, the threat of extortion, unauthorized surveillance, other actions that could compromise the grid's reliability. So we're taking decisive action today to prevent, before it happens, foreign-controlled companies from undermining Ontario's grid, from threatening our reliability, or harming the families and workers and Indigenous communities that care so deeply about those resources. So our proposed changes include new abilities to limit the participation of foreign actors, and I say foreign, I mean specifically hostile foreign state-owned enterprises in our energy grid. These steps are not optional, they are essential, because Ontario's resources belong to the people of Ontario and no one else. And so they protect Ontario. I would agree. I think it is like common sense. So the Protect Ontario by Unleashing Our Economy Act, this legislation, this plan, it gives us the tools to fight back, to push forward, to take control of our economic destiny, to stand up for ourselves as Canadians. And there are serious times, and we face a very dark geopolitical world, and we have to be clear-eyed about the risks. This legislation, working with our government, with Kevin Holland, with our Premier Ford, we're really drawing a line in the sand. Ontario's future will not be outsourced. It will not be owned and built. Rather, it will be built and owned and defended by Canadians. And so that's the mission we're on, to stand up for Canada against this incredible threat, yes, from the South, but increasingly from these large authoritarian regimes abroad. And I'm proud that we're giving government the capacity to say no, to deny leases or land claims when it is not in the national interest. And by the way, the federal government has a similar provision under the Investment Canada Act. We want the same type of power here in Ontario, given resources are our provincial jurisdiction. With that, I would like to introduce Rebecca Thompson, who's the Vice President Public Affairs at Alamos Gold. Rebecca and her team run one of the largest gold companies here in Ontario and Canada, employing thousands of people. They're investing hundreds of millions, and in fact $1 billion of capital investment in the future of Ontario. So we're grateful for their partnership and their leadership. I'll turn it over to Rebecca now. Thanks so much.
Thank you, and thank you very much. This is very important legislation coming at the right time, and from those that I've spoken to from across the sector, there's a lot of enthusiasm because Ontario ranks as a top jurisdiction for mining and responsible resource development. It's a reason why Alamos Gold, a Canadian company, has spent the last decade investing in this province. Alamos operates 2 long-life mines here, Young-Davidson and the Island Gold District, employing close to 2,000 people. Most people who come from right here in Ontario. In fact, some of them come from right here in Thunder Bay. And we're also investing a record amount in exploration. Last year alone, we invested $40 million Canadian in exploration in Ontario. This is significant, and we will continue to invest. It is well known that there's tremendous geological potential in Ontario. The province is in a very, very fortunate position for this reason. Ontario government's proposals in this legislation matter significantly. These are vital for improving the conditions that will attract investment, get more shovels into the ground, and more companies extracting minerals. But they're also vital. This is also vital because as Ontario embarks on the acceleration of mineral development, it must be done responsibly. And the last point I'll make is that I do work with the Ontario Mining Association as well, the chair of the Innovation and Clean Technology Committee, and we're as a mining association, we're very enthusiastic to be working with the Ontario government on this legislation, and permitting is definitely a priority. So with that said, it's my pleasure to introduce the Mayor of Thunder Bay, Mayor Boshkoff.
Thank you so much for being allowed to join this auspicious occasion. For the people who know, first of all, I have to introduce one of my best counselors. Please take a wave, Casey Trini. You know, for us to come here and get inspired by the actions of the government, for which we are deeply appreciative, and also for the investments in new businesses, and seeing what it will do for our economy, for employing the skilled trades, in recognizing Stephen and Kevin. We know how very, very fortunate we are to have such champions in our corner, and to be here today at RPM, knowing that the fact that we are going to be able to employ those people who are being trained at the college or throughout with their skilled trades in very tangible working environment. And with the chief here today, we know that these new partnerships are going to be so significant with our Indigenous neighbors as we develop these projects together. So today's announcement means we can count on more investments, not only here in Thunder Bay, but throughout Ontario. So these are very exciting times. And overall, the fact that other jurisdictions are recognizing the advantages of investing in Ontario, the opportunity is being shared throughout northwestern Ontario. And I'm looking forward to seeing the results of this legislation, which can only build an even more prosperous Ontario. And on behalf of my council and the residents of Thunder Bay and our neighbors, we really look forward to the benefits that we're all going to share in. Thank you so much.
Okay.
We will now open the floor to questions from the media. Please come up to the mic and state your name and outlet. As a reminder, it's one question, one follow-up. We will start with our first reporter.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Minister Lecce. I'm Sandy Krasowski with the Chronicle Journal newspaper. I'd like to know, how is this going to impact companies that are already here in Thunder Bay, say from Australia and other parts of the world?
So it's a fabulous question. Let me be entirely clear. This is about protecting, encouraging, and incentivizing foreign investment to the province. The Australians, the Swiss, Brazilians, Americans. I mean, we want to attract investment from around the world. The ambition of our Premier is to position Ontario as the best place to invest in the G7, full stop. Cutting taxes, red tape, regulation, making government more efficient, and creating accountability on government to make decisions, not to sit on assessments for thousands of days when it could take hundreds. So we're moving with that sense of ambition. We understand the importance of doing it in partnership with local communities, Indigenous communities. But those types of nations, democracies, industrialized economies, are not in any way affected by this. We want them to continue to invest. We want, like literally when we say open for business, we mean it for them. Where the door will close or could close is now government having the power to say no to the transfer of a claim or a lease when a nefarious or a hostile foreign regime makes a claim in the north. You know, I often wonder, first off, the province doesn't have even the capacity until we have this new authority to even know who has those claims, the citizenship of the claims. So we're going to ban these claims being transitioned to state-owned enterprises. I mean, every company the Chinese use SOEs as an extension of their government. We saw this in Canada when a state-owned enterprise of China, essentially the government of China, tried to buy Canadian petroleum producer out in Alberta. And so that worries me. I mean, look, we're Canadians. We're all fighting for the same cause today, especially in the post-Trump world. And I just don't understand why we wouldn't want to have a power to say no if it's not in our national interest. Especially because my principal concern is that these folks, these bad actors, hostile foreign regimes, like we're talking about authoritarian regimes, they'll make the claim, not that they're exploiting the resource, but they're intentionally landlocking it because they're the competitor. So I just feel like this is an opportunity for us to smarten up, recognize the risk, but also welcome the investment from around the world that we want. And I'm very proud that we have big investments. I mean, we have great Canadian companies, obviously, but we've got great investors here in Ontario too. The majority are Canadian, and we've got roughly 10 to 12 mining projects before the government. Again, there's foreign investors. We welcome it. We want more of it, but we need to have an authority to stand up for the province when it's just simply not in Canada's interests.
Fair enough. Just a secondary question. You kind of touched on this already. Mm-hmm. You talk about nefarious investors coming in here. Is there a company here right now that you're concerned with to stem this program?
none of the mining operators or companies in Ontario this is not about the existing.
Yeah.
This is really about those who make claims or, of course, who have leases that could develop those. This is more of the future.
Sure.
I want to prevent this from happening. I mean, we don't really know who's making those claims in the first place. So let's figure out who is claiming our resources, and let's have an authority where we think it's in the interest to step in, we now can do so. But in the 2021, there's a CSIS report, and they noted that hostile foreign actors routinely engage in corrupt financing using proxies, state-owned enterprises, dual nationals, etc., to purchase land in other jurisdictions. And this is true in mining and exploration sector. So without the tools to protect Ontario's minerals, these hostile governments, they're very clandestine, they're very clever, unfortunately. They can buy Ontario mineral rights with impunity, and that has to end. And that's the point of why we're here. It's to give us the authority to say no when it's not in Canada's interests.
Right.
Like at the end of the day, Canadian resources should benefit Canadians, period.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi there, I'm Scott Sumner, Thunder Bay Business, North Superior Publishing.
Good to see you.
So, yeah, I grew up in northwestern Ontario,
Right.
and I remember when I was young, my dad was a mining engineer in Manitowoc, and the Hemlo gold mines were found, and that was huge economic activity for Ontario. So my question is about the Ring of Fire. We've been talking about Ring of Fire for many, many years now. What is your impression of when it will start? What's the time frame? What can we see in the next few years, within up to 5 years, let's say?
You know, for all these questions, what I always say is we want to move at the speed of the proponent. They're in the driver's seat with local communities. You know, so we have existing capacity in the Ring of Fire, the Nickel Basin of Timmins, et cetera. So we have massive amount of resources and extraction and processing already happening in Ontario. The Ring of Fire has tremendous economic value to Canada. It possesses some of the largest critical minerals and rare earths that exist. And going back to the theme of standing up for common sense and democratic values, if it's not us getting these resources to market, you know, in a collaborative way, it's the Chinese who are going to win the day because they own all the mines of Africa, where they are exploiting in the most disturbing ways human rights, labor standards, no environmental concern at all their energy is sourced by coal. I mean, like, we live in this amazing nation with strong rights and constitutions and obligations, and I think we live up to these things, and we should live up to those obligations. And so I want Ontario to prevail. I want Canadian resources to prevail, to displace Chinese or Russian products in the world. So the Ring of Fire will benefit from the new the project proponents in the Ring of Fire, I should say, for Wilo, Juno, or other explorers, including junior exploration that's taking place in the region. They will all benefit from one project, one process. It's cutting the process and the timelines in half on government. But what our policy doesn't do is it does not in any way infringe on the constitutional obligation of the duty to consult. And I think it is important we find that balance, you know. Obviously, we know, I mean, the Premier announced, as you will know, with many chiefs, Chief Boss is with us, in fact, where there is the extension of the sort of Ring of Fire, the road, the access road, sort of the gateway to the Ring of Fire, if you will. That was done in partnership, collaboration. But if we want to get on with seeing extraction one day, then we need partners. And we've got amazing partners on the ground when it comes to communities and First Nations. We will need a federal government on Monday to agree to end the duplication of their environmental assessments. We will need the federal government to accept a premise that duplication is wasting time and taxpayer money, that provides no advantage to the environment by doing the exact same assessment. The Indigenous communities are leading the EA. So I just feel like, you know, this is maybe a call to action for all of us, all parties involved, businesses, communities, governments at all levels. We got to smarten up, and if we really want to challenge the world and take on the world as an energy superpower, I think we've got to agree with a simple premise. Speed is a strength, but we've got to make sure we meaningfully consult and do our homework and the due diligence that I think Canadians want us to do. So in this bill, we actually enhance environmental protection. We strengthen enforcement. We, in fact, now, you know, up to millions of dollars of fines and jail time. So zero tolerance for non-compliance. So I'm not trying to, it's a lot, I'm saying a lot. You asked about timelines. That's in the communities, and the proponents are in the driver's seat. That's a question for them. For us, we are enabling those proponents and communities to move quicker should they want to. Now, we have an interest in getting those resources out of the ground, of course. We announced funding for processing, because we just don't want to extract it, rip it, and ship it. We want to create value-added jobs here in Ontario. So we announced we committed in the campaign $500 million over 3 years to process those critical minerals in the province. Those are value-added jobs, and that could happen in Thunder Bay, it could happen in Timmins, certainly it's already happening in Sudbury. So there's a ton of potential, there's a lot of momentum, we're moving in the right direction. You've heard from industry leaders, the Ontario Mining Association, the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, literally the Canadian Chamber, everyone has come out saying finally government is acting to get on with these projects. So all mines will benefit, that includes the Ring of Fire, but I just can't emphasize enough the importance of collaboration to get anything done, anything of significance done, and we're making that commitment today.
So do you think a first step that we would see would be the start of a road? Access?
Yes, well, I mean, that's one thing that has been negotiated, as you know, with Greenstone, Narrowland, Martin Falls, the various Indigenous communities that were involved in that work, and they're leading it, which is the awesome story. I mean, 2 weeks ago, I was with George Perry, the member from Timmins, the Minister of Northern Economic Development, and I announced for the first time in a decade, net new hydroelectric power in the north, led by two Indigenous nations who are leading the work. They did the work. We just backed it and supported it, and we're funding it. Every transmission project we're building in Ontario, 50-50 partnerships with Indigenous communities. Every every energy storage project, we've got equity partnerships. So there's a way to move with speed, but you've got to be prepared to make those investments and to listen. And that's what we're doing with today's announcement, or with this policy. It's about speed, it's about a bias of action, but it's also about protecting Canadian resources from foreign exploitation. And I think together, this is a really solid plan for Canada.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Alrighty.
Seeing no further questions, this concludes today's press conference. Thank you.
Thank you all.